Welcome back to another episode of our rare two-door convertible Mercedes G-Wagon monster truck EV build. If you didn't see the first episode, we're transforming this Mercedes G-Wagon convertible, fitting it with 4x4 squared style suspension, fitting bigger wheels and tires on it, adding a custom body kit, and most importantly, we're converting it to an EV, making this the first electric G-Wagon ever. On the last episode, we began test fitting the body kit, stripped the truck down to the frame, and we began preparing to mount the new suspension. And on this episode, we're going to be doing just that, as well as modifying the driveline and more. So, with that said, let's get started.
Custom car building.
What is the ratio?
90% suck, 10% awesome. If you can't endure 90% suck, then I wouldn't even start in this game.
You've turned red.
Good in the middle.
Wow.
Trying to do some dirty tacks. Just to get it held in place.
Before you take
Then we'll pull the body off, I'll tidy it all up, do a really nice root pass, and then we'll do a really nice cover pass on it. We'll do it all with TIG. So just get it tacked in place with this, making sure I got clearances everywhere. I got light in between the gaps. It's good. Almost another step closer to having this thing being able to hold itself up. That's about the end of the wire feed action. I'm gonna grab the TIG welder. We'll clean these up a little tiny bit and we'll do some nice beauty passes on it. Everything fits the way it's supposed to now. Took a little bit of modifications to make it happen, but we got there. It's on, it's become one with the original chassis, and yeah. Once I'm done with this, I'm gonna mount the EV driveline into the vehicle. Tim and Alex came up with a pretty cool mounting system for that. So that was all drawn up on Fusion 360. We had a laser cut. Tim's doing a little bit of brake press action. Fold those things up when you get those in place. And not long from now, we're gonna see this thing EV converted. It's gonna look good.
Our motor for the very first time. Well, not the first time. Semi-first time.
First time it's mounted solid.
I hand whittled these.
Wow, I believe you.
I did. I used nothing but a chisel and a hand file.
To make the mount.
I started these in October of last year. So it's really nice to see all my efforts finally coming together. No, actually, we 3D scanned these, laser cut them, folded them, started and designed them Wednesday of last week.
That's pretty awesome.
You can take this out of here. Yo.
Wow.
It's real now.
It's a momentous day.
It is. talking about adding another plate onto this motor mount to thicken this by double, and add for style points, Tim was talking about adding a little bit of shape into it. So we'll have to TIG weld the whole thing on 100%. It's taken me now 2 days to do all of this. We're almost done. Almost done. We're gonna start stripping this whole chassis down now. The engine and trans are about, well, engine and output are about to come out. The differentials are about to come off. We're gonna get it stripped down and we're gonna send it out for blasting. I'm about to do a little tiny bit of final cleanup on this G-Wagon chassis before it goes to blasting.
Dang, dude.
Oh, that's just the root pass.
Oh my gosh, that
So-
was amazing.
We're gonna do a cat pass on it now. This is the rotisserie. So we're just setting out the rotisserie right now so we can spin this chassis.
And with that, the frame was sent out for blasting, but there's still lots left to do with the frame done.
So right now we're scanning the axle to make brackets for the lower shock mounts.
Okay.
And since we have those big brake kits, we need some provisions to kind of clearance that and then make the brackets higher than it was.
Cutting off the old spring perches, shock mounts, and everything from the front diff for the G-Wagon. This side's got the Pandard Bar mount incorporated in it, so I have to be a little bit more selective with my removal. I know Alex is in the office right now designing up some new lower shock mounts. This is the rear diff. So you can kind of get a bit of an idea. This is the radius arm mount, so it comes in from underneath. The top side is this. We have some pieces that we're having laser cut to make the mounts for the bump stops and everything. They're all gonna be here.
Steering stabilizer,
Oh,
but it's from another vehicle,
what is this originally from?
a Jeep JK. So now we're adapting it to this thing.
So it didn't have a steering stabilizer.
No, it didn't.
It did, but just a really janky one.
Okay.
So we're eliminating a lot of this because we're remaking all the bushings out of Delin.
Okay.
So we'll take a little bit of that, but all those things compounded and big tires are generally what causes that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the shock will slow the action of the steering down. Like if you're, you know, say you're turning left and you hit something, the shock will stop it from like ripping it and changing the direction a lot. So it'll just to stabilize the motion from side to side.
Yeah.
And that just kind of gets amplified with bigger tires. If you're gonna go off-roading, high speed, like anything, it's just a good idea to have. So
Especially for that reason.
the factory put it on, we're just upgrading it with a beautiful shock from Fox.
frame back from the blasters, it had to be cleaned and coated with epoxy primer to avoid any corrosion. While it was getting primed, Rob began prepping the axle for blasting as well.
Good news is we're almost done.
Sweet.
Whew, thank goodness.
Yeah.
It's been
The whole body is probably like.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it's gonna be. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow probably still shaking.
Yeah.
But we're almost done. This thing had some pretty heavy rust on it.
Yeah.
So breaking it up with the needle scaler is gonna be kind of essential pre-media blasting. But the boys just took off to go grab our plates from the plate profiler. So we're gonna get all the bracketry bent and welded up on this. We'll be another step closer. We had these Delin bushings machined for this to do away with the red bushing that came with this. I believe this was a Eurowise kit, but it came with red. Doesn't really fit the theme of the vehicle, so we got some black Delin and boom, here we go. Nice.
Looks glorious.
Machines fit really, really tight. A little bit less give than the red ones were. Yes. I'm just giving the Pandard Bar clearance hole a little bit more room. Since it's gloss black and the Delin bushings and everything, there's a little bit less sort of give. So fitting it inside there was a little bit tight the way it came from the factory. So I'm just giving it a little bit of clearance, adding a nice little radius to it, just sort of making it look nice, making it a little bit more serviceable. Everything looks better with a chamfer.
Arms, and then we can,
yeah.
If you watch that bracket, it doesn't pivot at all.
Yeah, so when we get it all the way down here, I'd almost imagine that this one would be like this, and they'd be like this.
Yeah, they should be
right?
like that.
So when it strokes up.
So I'll set it up parallel at 4 inches, tack it, and then we can do all that other bullshit.
Yes, sounds good.
So this is your pivot point. So
Yeah.
This is how the suspension works in an arc. So you don't want these straight up and down, because as this travels through the arc, it'll push the shock back. So you want this to be in the natural arc of your trailing arm.
Yeah.
So that this you're not binding your shock in any way or causing it to, you want this to be as smooth as possible. So based on the amount of travel that we have, that's how you end up with this. So when this is fully maxed out, this angle is still within its natural arc.
Yeah. So that means you have to test the whole thing up and down to determine that perfect spot of where it's going to be.
Yeah,
like
so we basically, you take the springs off.
Yeah.
We've articulated it up, down, side to side to make sure that we have spring clearance here and to the back of the wheel, and there's no binding anywhere. So, and then that's how you set up your your rear bar too, so that it stays centered. So yeah, it's just a lot of trial and error. So you do as much as you can, but it's still good to do this because it's, yeah, you don't want any binding or rubbing or limitations anywhere.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, if you put this straight, as this went up,
Yeah.
it's gonna go like this.
Yeah.
And that's
not gonna really
not
go
what you
anywhere.
want. There's gonna be a brief moment that it's kind of gonna want to bind.
Yeah.
So you want to eliminate all those little binding points if you can.
We now have the rear suspension bracketry in place. It's pretty much finalized and ready for final weld. So,
These are the original dry shafts. We just detailed and painted them.
Oh.
Basically, because there's nothing better. Unless we started doing aluminum drive shafts, but still not as strong. Walk the brakes on to make sure all our clearances are good, and then we put the wheels on the back.
So it's gonna be a roller today? No.
Yeah, I think by the end of the day.
Oh. And then everything has come back apart again. Okay.
that's custom car building.
On, off, on, off, on, off.
We've got very proficient at putting these together.
I feel like you've done it like so many times.
It's like as soon as Elvis hears a grinder,
I'm like, oh my
rushes
god,
out here
oh
with
my
a
god.
camera. I gotta go get the sparks, bro.
Playing into the entire stereotype. Like,
Oh my
all
gosh.
TV shows, it's like sparks.
Sparks
Yeah.
in slow motion.
So the people out there in the world, we do more than use sawzalls and zip cuts. That's essentially the front diff sorted now. Now we have both of our coilovers mounted. It's custom bracketry. We're dialed. We're looking good. Feel good about it.
We worked on fitting the brakes in the chassis once the custom mounts are made, after which we put the new wheels and tires on. Then it was time to test fit the body on the chassis after we made all the mods, and it looks amazing. We still have lots left to do to it, and in the next video we're going to be taking the body and the chassis to final paint, as well as working on the wiring to get this thing driving and moving down the road. So if you want to see that, drop a like on this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.